Good afternoon. On Thursday at about 12:15 p.m., Victor Valley deputies went to a residence on Zuni Road in Apple Valley to serve a search warrant relating to an identity theft investigation. As deputies arrived, they made contact with a male, later identified as Francis Pusok, in front of the residence. He got into a vehicle and fled from the area. Deputies attempted to stop him, and he failed to yield. He drove at high rates of speed through the town of Apple Valley, unincorporated Apple Valley, and unincorporated Hesperia. In the area of Bowen Ranch, the vehicle became disabled, and Pusok fled on foot. Shortly after, Sheriff's Dispatch received a call from a man in the area of Deep Creek Hot Springs stating that a male subject had just stolen his horse. At this time, we had deputies on foot, off-highway vehicles, and in helicopters, including assistance from the California Highway Patrol with air support. Several deputies became dehydrated after miles of the foot chase. Pusok continued to evade deputies, riding the horse through 4 to 5 miles of sometimes steep, rocky, and rugged terrain. A sheriff's helicopter inserted a team of deputies into the area of Highway 173 and Arrowhead Lake Road to take the suspect into custody. Deputies made contact with Pusok, and as they approached, the horse threw him off. A taser was deployed initially and thought to be ineffective due to his loose clothing. A use of force occurred during the arrest. I need to clarify some information about the injured deputies. 2 deputies were transported to the hospital with injuries consisting of abrasions, a twisted knee, and a back injury from being struck by the horse. They have been treated and released. Francis Pusok was treated for injuries consisting of abrasions and bruising. He was treated at the hospital and then transported to the West Valley Detention Center for booking. He was booked for felony evading, theft of a horse, possession of stolen property, and an active warrant for reckless driving. An internal investigation was started immediately regarding the use of force. In addition, 2 teams of specialized investigators have been working around the clock conducting the criminal investigation. The criminal investigation will address the actions of Pusok and the deputies involved. At this time, we have identified 10 deputies involved in the use of force during the arrest. Those deputies have been placed on paid administrative leave. We have received multiple threatening emails, phone calls, and posts on social media. We are looking into the validity of these threats and will only release the deputy's name if those threats are found to be unwarranted. I assure you that I'm disturbed by this video. I said it yesterday that it was disturbing. I asked the citizens of our county and across the nation to please be patient with our investigation. I assure you that we will conduct a fair and thorough investigation into the incidents that occurred yesterday afternoon in the Bowen Ranch area. I've spoken with our district attorney, Mike Ramos, and told him that the criminal investigation will be submitted to his office once completed. He will make an independent decision on the filing of any criminal charges. I've also been in contact with James Ramos, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, as well as the other board members, and they have been briefed on the incidents surrounding this event. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Sheriff, you've seen the video.
Yes, sir.
An appropriate response from your deputies?
It appears to be excessive to me based on what I saw in the video.
Does the video show, as it appears, that his legs were spread and he had his hands behind his back? It looked like he was surrendering. Is there anything you can tell us about something he said or did that would cause the deputies to strike him so many times?
The investigation is still going, and our investigators are continuing to interview people that were involved in the situation. Things happen in the video fairly quick, and as you watch the video, it appears in the beginning that his hands are behind his back, then his hands move. There's some information that he may have been kicking at one point. Regardless, at the end of the day, it appears to be excessive.
Is it Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you watched the whole video, the entire incident that's available on YouTube?
I'm not sure what the entire length of the video is that you're talking about, but I've watched about 4.5 minutes of the video.
The time the man jumped off the horse.
Yes, ma'am.
Down on the ground, spread his arms, was tasered, spread his arms again, and then put his arms behind his back. Have you seen that?
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff McMahon,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I thought you were done. Apologize. No, if you wanted to finish your question. So I want to say, would there have been an investigation like this if it hadn't come out on video?
There's always an investigation as a result of a use of force in our organization. Regardless of whether a video exists or not, our staff is required to conduct an investigation into any use of force, whether it be a taser or physical force with hands and feet.
Sheriff, my understanding is that some of these deputies were wearing audio recording devices. Have you been able to listen to that and get any more information?
Yes, they were wearing audio recorders. I have not listened to those, but that will all be part of the criminal investigation as well.
Why not
Have any of these deputies ever been accused of excessive force before?
I can't tell you that at this point. Their background and personnel files are protected under the law under POBAR, but that will certainly be a consideration, especially in the internal investigation administratively.
Sheriff, why not let an outside agency investigate this? Is there a concern about tainting the investigation if it's done internally?
I don't have a concern about it being tainted. As I indicated, our detectives from the Specialized Investigations Division responded immediately. Those are the same individuals that conduct complex investigations into homicides, officer-involved shootings. We're following the same protocol that we would follow in any type of high-profile event, including an officer-involved shooting, where members of our organization investigate our officer-involved shootings as well as those for other agencies, submit that information to the district attorney's office for an independent decision. Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of anger on social media. This thing has gone viral. It's gone worldwide. What do you want people to know from your heart about what happened and what's going to happen in the future if anything is found to be considered wrongdoing in this case?
Well, I think what's important to note is what I mentioned before. I'm asking for some patience while we complete a thorough and fair investigation. I am disturbed and troubled by what I see in the video. It does not appear to be in line with our policies and procedures, at least a portion of it. I ask that you allow us to conduct that investigation, and I assure you, if there's criminal wrongdoing on the part of any of our deputy sheriffs or any policy violations, we will take action.
Sheriff, you said the police chief in South Carolina, as soon as he saw the video of his officer shooting a man in the back, fired that officer. Why have you not done that with these officers?
Rules and laws are different from state to state. I told you that those 10 officers are on administrative leave. Depending on how the outcome goes with the administrative as well as the criminal investigation, officers in the state of California are afforded due process rights. And so termination immediate like could occur in other states cannot occur in the state of California.
I know this investigation.
In watching the video, it appears when we count the number of deputies kind of in that main struggle, there appear to be 7 closely, around him. But you mentioned 10. When you say 10, does that mean you believe there are 10 deputies who may have been physical in punching, kicking, using their baton? Why? All 10 of them?
Based on our review of the videotape, it appears that there are 10 deputies involved in the use of force at some level or another. Those are the 10 that have been put on administrative leave.
Are any of these deputies, sir? Are any of them supervisors, and if so, how many?
Yes, there are. There was 1 sergeant and 1 detective.
So this investigation is going on right now, and I understand it's active.
Yes, sir.
But is there any indication as to what might have spurred the reaction we saw from your deputies?
Not at this point. We don't have that information yet. They're continuing to interview and investigate as we speak. They've been out there all night and continue throughout today.
Have they had previous contact with this suspect in particular? Had any of those deputies had contact or know this man?
I can't tell you if any of the 10 that we put on administrative leave have had contact with this suspect. There were deputies present during the initial pursuit that were very familiar with this suspect and were very familiar with his criminal history.
How so?
There were deputies from our office in Apple Valley that had responded to a call for service at his residence, a domestic call where in fact he made threats to kill a deputy sheriff and in fact shot a puppy in front of part of his family, and we were very familiar with his aggressive nature.
Sheriff, you've been involved in pursuits, I'm sure, in your long career. Can you talk about being involved in a pursuit with
Sure, I've been in a number of pursuits throughout my 30-year career, both foot pursuits and those that are in vehicles. It is difficult to manage your adrenaline when you get to the end of a pursuit after driving at high speeds through crazy situations, blowing stop signs, near collisions, and then ultimately running on foot after a suspect. And when ultimately you catch that suspect at the end of the pursuit, it is very difficult at times to control your emotions and clearly to control the adrenaline. Not that that's an excuse for what occurred yesterday, but it is certainly a challenge that deputy sheriffs and law enforcement officers across the entire country face every single day.
Sheriff, during your initial announcement, there was a live report that I couldn't quite hear what you said regarding the suspect's condition right now. Can you repeat his injuries and what condition he's in right now?
Certainly, he has injuries consisting of abrasions and bruising, and he has been booked at the West Valley Detention Center where he's currently being held.
Will you release his photo?
Yes, we will.
How long was he hospitalized? Was he hospitalized?
He was treated and released at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center.
Can you speak in more detail, Sheriff, please, about why investigators went to his house in the first place, the identity theft allegations?
Certainly, deputy sheriffs from the Victor Valley Station were following up on an identity theft investigation. They went to that residence. When they arrived, they believed that the house was vacant because the suspects they were looking for that lived in that residence that were part of that investigation had already been arrested and booked. They were surprised to find people at that residence when they arrived, and Mr. Pusok chose to get in a vehicle and flee the scene.
Were they after Pusok to begin with in this search warrant?
Not to my knowledge.
So he was essentially squatting in a home allegedly that didn't belong to him?
I'm not sure if that in fact is the case. They didn't expect him to be there. My information at this point is that he doesn't live there, but I'm not sure the reason he was at that residence.
He just fled inside of the police even though he wasn't the man they were looking for.
It's our information that because he was on probation, he thought that it was a probation sweep and that he fled because he didn't want his probation violated.
Do you know what his bail is set at right now?
I do not have that information. I could get that information or somebody could get it to you.
Sheriff, can you give us an idea of the range of experience with the 10 deputies? Like, are we talking about someone with only a couple of years' experience? And you said a sergeant to detective. Can you give us a range of experience with these 10?
I can't with any level of certainty. We can provide some information later to that effect, but without knowing individually their level of experience, it's tough for me to tell you.
Most senior deputy on scene.
I can't tell you in the number of years because I just don't know. If I told you, it would be a guess.
Thank you.
Without this video, Sheriff, without this video and having everything caught on camera, is there a possibility nobody would have ever known this happened?
There's not a possibility that nobody would have known that the use of force occurred. We would have clearly known the use of force occurred because there's a requirement to report any uses of force that we're involved in. Would we have the facts and details that we have today without the video? Probably not. But as we sit here today, I'm confident that our staff would have reported the use of force at the termination of this pursuit.
Just to be clear, yesterday I think it was said that this person was the prime suspect in the identity theft investigation. That's not.
You know, I'm not sure that was said, but if in fact that was said, that's not the case.
What would you say about releasing the identities of the deputies? You said that directly because of these threats that you're not doing that?
Correct. But we have received a number of threats, obviously, and we're investigating those threats to determine if there's any validity to them before we release the names of the officers. There's been threats to suggest that people are going to go to their houses, cause harm to their family, and I'm not comfortable at this point releasing their names until I determine whether or not those threats are valid.
How are you backfilling the emptiness of coverage, when it comes to sheriff's deputies up in that area? You having to pull people, put them on overtime and things like that in order to backfill?
We will shift resources throughout the county to make sure that those patrol beats are covered in those various stations.
Have you had a chance to actually talk one-on-one with the deputies involved in this case at all?
I have not. I visited the 2 deputy sheriffs that were at the hospital yesterday. I went to ARMC and visited with them, but we did not discuss the details of this case. My concern was to make sure that the deputy sheriffs that were injured and transported to the hospital were okay. Thank you all very much.